I'm going to embrace my Jewish mother instincts for a moment. So as a mother, a senator, and a fellow human being, I can tell you that I'm not even mad anymore about your complicity in this administration's destruction of U.S. global leadership. I'm simply disappointed. And I wonder if you're proud of yourself in this moment when you go.
Thank you, Senator Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to get right into it. Secretary Rubio, I'm going to embrace my Jewish mother instincts for a moment. So as a mother, a senator, and a fellow human being, I can tell you that I'm not even mad anymore about your complicity in this administration's destruction of U.S. global leadership. I'm simply disappointed. And I wonder if you're proud of yourself in this moment when you go home to your family, because I've always found you, Senator Rubio, to be a bipartisan, pragmatic partner, a true believer that the U.S. is stronger when we lead with diplomacy and development. You have a strong record on this, but I don't recognize Secretary Rubio. A stalwart support of Israel, you've watched this administration abandon Saudi normalization with Israel in order to pursue business deals. You were once a fierce critic of Vladimir Putin, but you sat idly by as the president berated the elected leader of Ukraine for not capitulating to Russia. And worst of all, you've kneecapped foreign assistance, including programs that you previously championed and made America less safe, less strong, less prosperous in doing so. I know you know this in your heart, and I can't make this point any better than you did yourself in 2019 when you said, anybody who tells you that we can slash foreign aid and that will bring us to balance is lying to you. So with that, I'm just going to move on to my questions. Thank you. And I'm going to talk about international women's issues because during your time as senator, you were a champion of international women's issues. You helped introduce bills that would have codified the Department's Office of Global Women's Issues and Women's Global Development Prosperity Initiative. You supported several bills, including Senator Shaheen's Bipartisan Women, Peace, and Security Act. During your confirmation hearing, you committed to me that you would support women's economic empowerment abroad. And at this year's International Women of Courage Award, you waxed poetically about the administration's support for women abroad. So help me understand how to square your past with your present. You're proposing the full elimination of the Office of Global Women's Issues. You've terminated hundreds of programs that help women and girls. You provided no guidance to the department on whether they should continue to implement the Women, Peace, and Security Act, and I'm still waiting to see your support for women's economic empowerment overseas. How can you dismiss the concerns of women around the world? Do you believe that the data shows that women's economic participation includes greater economic development worldwide and that women's participation in peace negotiations guarantees longer outcomes? And I have a few questions, so I would respectfully ask for a yes or no. Don't you think that women's participation is important and allows for better outcomes?
This is not a game show. I'm not going to ask that with a yes or no. That's an important question. And I can answer it. We're not abandoning women's issues.
So do you believe the Office of Global Women's Issues should be eliminated?
One thing is to eliminate an office. Another thing is to eliminate the function. The function will still exist. It'll be driven at the regional bureaus. So every one of our regions will have someone who's looking at and driving that issue, and right down to the embassy. It remains a priority. The same with the law that you outlined that I supported. This is going to be executed on, but it's going to be executed at the regional level and at the embassy level. And the reason why is because the challenges facing women in Africa are different than the challenges facing women in Central America.
And I have your commitment that you're going to support women around the world, because without the women being able to be successful in their countries, I believe we can't have peace, stability, and our countries move forward.
Sure, and it remains part of our agenda. It's just going to be, the service is still going to be delivered, but it's going to be delivered at the regional and embassy level, not through a standalone office in Washington, D.C.
When will we see the reports on this and how this will be delivered?
Well, this is what we're engaged in with this committee now, which is our reorganization process. We've made an initial presentation to the committees. It's not final. We've received input through the comment period, including from our own building, but also from members of Congress on both sides, and meaning House and Senate. Now we'll come back to you based on all of that input on what we propose to be the final reorganization.
Do you have a timeline when you'll come back? Because I don't want to see women left behind around the world, and I think you'd agree with me. But I'm going to turn on to Israel. If you can give us a timeline of when you're proposing to do this, that would be helpful, and we can maybe come back and revisit it, Mr. Chairman. Do you have a timeline of when?
Sure, we're engaged now. I think we'll owe you a congressional notification here within the next few weeks, which is but all of that is being built on the comment period in which we've taken input from staff and members of this committee as well as in the House.
Thank you. Can I move on to Israel for a second? So the Office of Security Coordinator in Israel, the OSC, was established by President Bush in 2005. The OC is widely respected, including by the IDF Central Command, for facilitating security coordination between the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli security forces, which has been crucial in preventing terrorist attacks against Israelis. However, it's reported that you plan, again, to eliminate OSC, which I believe, and many others, could lead to further destabilization in the West Bank and threaten Israel's security. So, Mr. Secretary, should the U.S. continue playing a role in facilitating successful security coordination between IDF and Palestinian security forces to safeguard Israeli lives? And if so, do you believe the State Department should continue to maintain the OSC and support it financially?
Yeah, I mean, there's news reports every day about things that aren't true. So the only thing that's been discussed about OSC is whether it should be brought under the authority of the ambassador and the embassy.
You're not proposing eliminating. Thank you. We'll move further on this discussion. With my minute left, I'm going to talk about vaccines abroad because Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, we are so proud, has prevented nearly 19 million children's deaths since it was created by providing vaccines to 50 countries. Diseases, they don't know borders. So a small investment from the U.S. can save American lives by stopping outbreaks, really, before they reach our shores. You were previously a champion of global vaccines, twice leading resolutions in support of continued U.S. investments in these programs. So, Mr. Secretary, again, do you consider vaccines, including for malaria, Ebola, to be life-saving? Given Gavi's proven track record of saving lives, preventing global disease outbreaks that could reach our borders, will you commit to prioritizing continued U.S. support for Gavi?
But we haven't canceled U.S. support for malaria or any of these other communicable diseases and/or vaccines. What we have, there are some individual programs that may have been canceled because they weren't being delivered in the appropriate way. All of these functions will continue. The difference now is the function will be happening under the Department of State as opposed to a set-alone entity, which you had very little oversight over, by the way, in this committee, even though we tried in the years that I was on it with USAID. And I don't want to, I may respond to one point you made just because I'm curious. We have not abandoned Saudi normalization with Israel, as you pointed. The Saudis are the ones that have expressed their inability to move forward on it so long as the conflict is happening in Gaza. But we would love to see normalization.
You know, when it comes to the Saudis and normalization, and we can have this I'd be so happy to have you in my office or come to your office and talk about this. It was quite apparent on the last trip that the president was more interested in making business deals and trying to move forward peace in the region. It's not just about the business deal. There's a lot going on, and there is pressure to bear. But we did receive a list, I just want to say for the record, that showed Gavi was terminated. And so if you could send us something to show that it's turned back on, we'd be glad to see that. I know I'm over my time.
Senator Scott.
In the final moments of this hearing, everything crystallized in a single striking exchange, a moment when Senator Jackie Rosen looked directly at Secretary Rubio and spoke not as a partisan, not even as a policymaker, but as a mother, a colleague, and a fellow human being, trying to understand how someone she once saw as a pragmatic partner could now stand behind decisions she believes are weakening America's role in the world. Her words were sharp, but not angry. I'm not even mad anymore. I'm simply disappointed. And in the quiet weight of that disappointment, the hearing shifted. What began as another oversight session became a deeper confrontation over values, responsibility, and the meaning of leadership in a fractured global landscape. Rosen's remarks weren't about scoring points. They were about calling out a transformation she couldn't reconcile. She invoked Rubio's past, the senator who championed diplomacy, who spoke forcefully about standing up to authoritarian powers, who argued passionately that slashing foreign aid was not only misguided but dangerous. And then she held that past up against the present. Programs eliminated, offices dismantled, commitments reversed, partnerships weakened. Her voice didn't tremble, but the underlying message was unmistakable. Something changed, and America is paying the price. This is the core of democratic oversight. Not the spectacle, not the tension, but the demand that public servants face the mirror. Because when Rosen asked whether Rubio felt proud of these choices when he returned home to his family, she wasn't asking a political question. She was asking a moral one. In that moment, the hearing became larger than budgets or bureaucratic structures. It became a reflection on what kind of nation the United States intends to be. As the exchange deepened, Rosen pressed further into issues she believed defined Secretary Rubio's credibility: support for women globally, security coordination in Israel, investments in international stability, commitments to life-saving health initiatives. She reminded him of what he once stood for. He insisted the functions would continue even if the offices disappeared. Yet beneath the back and forth lay a fundamental disagreement about how America should project strength. Through concentrated power in Washington, or through distributed efforts across regions and embassies, through established institutions, or through reorganized frameworks. But the tension wasn't procedural. It was philosophical. Rosen argued that the elimination of offices and programs created uncertainty and signaled retreat, a step away from America's long-standing belief that empowerment abroad strengthens security at home. Rubio countered that the work would continue, only in new forms. It was two worldviews colliding under the fluorescent lights of a Senate chamber, each grounded in a different understanding of what effective leadership looks like in a turbulent world. And then came Israel, another moment where the stakes rose sharply. Rosen warned that dismantling the security coordination mechanism could destabilize a volatile region. Rubio pushed back, saying no such elimination was planned. It was a reminder that in foreign policy, even rumors can ripple outward, shaping perceptions, alliances, and trust. Their final exchange about vaccine programs abroad reflected something deeper still. A debate over how much of America's strength comes not from force or wealth, but from its willingness to care, to invest in the health and stability of nations that will never vote in an American election. Rosen framed these investments not as charity, but as strategy. Rubio insisted the functions remained intact, but the fact that they had arrived at such a debate at all spoke to the larger story unfolding in Washington. A struggle over whether the United States will continue to lead with engagement or retreat behind narrower priorities. Through it all, one theme echoed again and again: responsibility. Responsibility to partners, responsibility to global stability, responsibility to ordinary people whose lives are shaped by decisions made in rooms like this one. Rosen questioned whether those responsibilities were being honored. Rubio defended his choices as updates, not abandonments. Yet beneath the policy language lay a deeper question neither one spoke directly, but both danced around. What does it mean to lead in a world that is losing faith in leadership? That is why this moment matters. Not because of one disagreement or one reorganization, but because it reveals the crossroads at which American diplomacy now stands. The hearing laid bare a clash between legacy and direction, between who leaders were and who they have become within a shifting political tide. And whether one agrees with Rosen or with Rubio, the urgency of the debate is undeniable. America's influence, its credibility, and its moral compass do not erode all at once. They erode in moments just like this one, where disappointment replaces trust and where clarity is demanded of those who wield power. In the end, hearings like this are not only about answers. They are about accountability, real human accountability. The kind that looks beyond reports and resumes and asks simply, are we doing what's right? Senator Rosen believed the choices on display threatened America's standing in the world. Secretary Rubio believed the restructuring would strengthen it. The tension between those visions is the tension shaping America's next chapter. And that is why your engagement matters. Because in a democracy, leadership is not defined by titles. It's defined by the people who watch, who question, who care enough to hold power to account. If you believe these conversations must continue, if you believe the truth still matters, if you believe America deserves transparency, courage, and integrity from those who lead it, then support the work we do here. Subscribe to Liberty Report USA and help keep the light on.